Hello, good morning, Malaysia. Welcome to Zaid Ibrahim podcast. This morning we have two special guests. Special because they are lawyers. They are young lawyers, Mr. Goh and Mr. Vince Tan. Lawyers are special. They think they are special. So I'm going to ask them some questions to convince you guys that lawyers have an important role to play in our country. Okay, I'm going to start with you, and both of you. Can you briefly explain what you do, where you're from, your personal data a little?
My name is Goh. You can call me Chai as well. I've been practicing criminal law for the past several years. I'm from Subang, but my office is in KL. And I'm part of this movement called the Young Lawyers Movement, where we have pushed for certain issues for young lawyers and pupils as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Vince. I'm a practicing lawyer. I do employment law. So one of my area of work is actually to advise companies in terms of their operations and the risks that they face. And of course, we represent them in court when there are disputes. So I'm from Penang. Hokkien is my first language. I love Penang food. And I hope to engage with many of you all in the near future. If I ever come across you all, please say hi. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned about Young Lawyers Movement. What is it called?
So Young
Is
Lawyers...
it a formal body?
It's not a formal body at the moment, but we do have a company that has been registered. So some of our activities we do run under that company. But before the registration of this company, it was just a group of people that got together that said that they had certain gripes with the way that the Malaysian bar was handling certain issues. So we raised these issues together nearly 3 to 4 years ago. And since then, there have been some developments, but we're still pushing forward certain things.
And how many members do you have?
When we first started out, there was about a dozen of us. Right now, we have a WhatsApp group made out of about 200 lawyers that are part of that group. So
200, is that?
200 lawyers part of an informal group that we have that's part of our community. So we've shifted from a group which was solely focused on advocacy on certain issues to a group which is more community-based, which has about 200 lawyers in the community right now.
Oh, that's very good. And you're happy with the progress?
Yes, definitely. I think Vince has definitely played a huge part in expanding the group of lawyers that we've been in contact with. I think this year we have been carrying out many events as well, just social events. But some of the developments that we see happening this year was the push of the Legal Profession Act amendments. Some of these amendments would enable the bar to legislate on how to enforce rulings on minimum pay for pupils.
Okay. What about you, Vince? You're happy with the Bar Council now?
Of course, there's a lot of areas for improvement. I used to serve under the National Young Lawyers and Pupils Committee. Now I only serve in the Constitutional Law Committee. There are a lot of things that we can see we want to improve and all that, especially the welfare of the young lawyers. One of the issues that really me and Chai collaborated was there's one senior lawyer who posted on their LinkedIn saying that pupils should take loans from law firms to do their pupillage and not be paid allowance at all. If they get retained in the firm, this loan is waived off. If not, they have to repay this loan in installments. And that got Chai very angry, and he decided to do a petition to implement minimum pay for pupils. And I was one of those that support this, and that's how the whole movement came out.
But there's no minimum pay.
Yes, no, not yet. So, but there's legislative amendments to empower the Bar Council to fix that pay. Of course, we initially take a different position because we feel that Bar Council, if they wanted to do so, can do internal regulations to fix the minimum pay. And for me, our view is the whole thing about going to Parliament to enact, make amendments and all that is just an excuse to slow things down, because a motion has been tabled and passed in Malaysian Bar AGM to implement minimum pay for pupils, but they are just finding ways to slow things down, and that's why we see a lot of excuses.
Why the resistance?
I think it's not so much of the merits of the argument whether we should have minimum pay for pupils, but it's an ego issue. Because a bunch of young lawyers, a bunch of young kids decides to come out and do something without authorization from people up there, and it's like challenging their authority. And I think what we've been doing for the past 4 years is so empowering, because traditionally when young lawyers try to speak out on issues, senior lawyers will gang up together to silence these young lawyers. But now, being more mature and all that, we know how to organize ourselves. So each time senior lawyers try to crack down on young lawyers, we will organize ourselves to fight back. And then they back off after that. Because it's like bullying in school. Bullies will only come after you if you're alone. But when you organize yourself and fight back, they say, okay, there's another group we can't do. It's like battle for territory, you know. It's like gang fight and all that.
So
sorry, Igor. Can you tell me, when you say young lawyers, what are you talking about? Is that a benchmark?
initially, when we started the young lawyers movement, we were saying lawyers that were practicing under 7 years or 7 years. Right now, I think that perhaps maybe that's shifted to more of the subjective point of view, whether you qualify as a young lawyer. We're not really talking about age, but more of like the number of years in practice. So if you're more in the category where you haven't really reached a form of seniority, then you would technically fall under that young lawyers category.
Okay, that's good. I hope you can push harder.
Yeah, we are seeing improvement.
Because now you have what, 20,000 members?
Yeah.
You have 20,000 lawyers.
Yeah.
And naturally, the younger ones are more than the older ones.
Yeah, that's true.
But they tend to be disengaged from the bar, because when we see the amount of people that actually voted for the BC elections also, they don't reflect the actual number of members that are in the bar.
Why is that?
Because I think that the younger lawyers feel that maybe the bar doesn't really reflect the things that they are interested in. It doesn't really represent.
They are really quite redundant.
That's what they may believe. Yeah. Initially, when I first started out, so I think I was a bit disengaged from the bar and what they were doing. I think Vince was more engaged in their activities and so on. So when he started telling me about, his own experiences, it took a while for me to really understand what he was saying. But I think some of the things he said became sort of true for me. Like there are certain ways in which there are certain politics that exist in the bar, and if you don't support that kind of politics, then you may become a threat to the people who have interests to gather from having your support.
Now, these 20,000 members of the bar, are they really active practitioners?
I would think so, if they have a valid PC. This it's not just about those who are on the rolls, it's those who are actively having a practicing certificate. Most, they do their day-to-day activities, practicing law, trying to put food on the table, make money, and of course, the ones who are actually active in the bar activities and all that may do so for certain interests. Usually it's for position, to get people know them, and as a result of it, they may get some business here and there. So that, of course, defeats the whole purpose about serving the community, because the whole reason why there is bar council committees in the first place is so that you can serve in it. And I have experience serving many years. I think even from my first year in practice and all that, we do our best, of course, and of course progress has been slow. And sometimes I remember in IMLC, International Malaysian Law Conference 2018, I spoke on this issue of minimum pay. I was in my second year, very scared of raising this issue, because we scared the crackdown towards us and all that. But thank God I got off. But I think things really boomed in 2020 when the whole saga of the young lawyers movement started. Is when we realized what we can do when we actually start moving together rather than doing things in isolation.
Okay. I just, before I forget, I just want to ask you.
Yeah.
When I was in the bar those days, it was much smaller.
Yeah.
And we kind of know everybody, you know. And I was active as well. But there were no, there was no visible divide, whether it is ethnic group, Malay or Malay, non-Malay, or corporate, non-corporate, property or non-property. It was just a small group. It was a lot easier to get across message,
Yeah.
What I want to know now is that because of this, everything in this country is polarized.
Yeah.
Do you experience the same thing in the profession?
I think so. And why such divide is because, like I said, everyone was once upon a time together. The divide started, the faction started is when one group gets alienated. And when one group gets alienated, their objections, their views, and all get suppressed, they retaliate.
Yes.
So that's why you can see a racial divide, because there are certain groups like the Malay Muslim majority lawyers, they are being alienated by those who are in power. That's why they rebel by contesting against those in power during the Bar Council elections. And last Bar Council election, there's 3 camps. So there's like the usual progressive camps who always win, like the pro-human rights camp, then there's the Malay Muslim conservative camp, and then there's those who do not fit in either two. I like to call them the socialists, probably. They are more supportive of the minimum pay for pupils. So it's interesting, vibrant, but let's analyze why that divide happened in the first place. Something must be wrong with the system. If everything is proper in the system, there won't be divide. There won't be camps. There won't be feudalism. There won't be warlords. But why does this happen? Something is wrong with the system.
You see, let me tell you a bit of history, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
For the benefit of lawyers and yourself. You know, I started the Muslim Lawyers Association. You know, and when I started it, there was a lot of opposition from the so-called non-Malay group. They thought I was doing it. I was in UMNO at that time.
Yeah.
But I started it because, and people must understand this, before the Article 121, before the amendment, where matters relating to Islamic law only is confined to Sharia court, and the civil court are not supposed to interfere in the decisions. If you look at 121A amendment, that to me was a very unfortunate decision for me, because that I think will divide the legal system in this country. At that time, the Bar Council only have a committee called the Muslim Law Committee. You know, and Bar Council, even at that time, was mainly non-Muslim, non-Malays. So anything they say about Muslim law will be viewed adversely by this politician or by the Muslim. So I told the Bar Council at that time that it is not enough that you have this committee. You should have another association or grouping of Muslim Malay lawyers, but trained in the Western common law system, who understands the common law system. So it is not outside the perimeter, it is within, but a committee is not enough. And that's how it started, you know. And of course, as you can see, Islamic law has permeated the system more and more, more and more. And the Bar Council become less and less willing to engage on these issues, because people will say, you are not a Muslim, how do you know? That's the reason why I thought the Bar Council should have taken ownership of this association by keeping the discussion within ourselves, using the principles that we all agree on, democracy, rule of law, blah, 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 but from an Islamic angle, so that it doesn't get into another discussion, which is now, the discussion is, Islam is like this, it has the civil, the Sharia court now is on equal standing with the civil courts. Things like that have emerged, which in those days, during my time, the Sharia court was seen as a subordinate court. But now it has become something else. So this is it's an example of something can be misunderstood. And you have lost the purpose of it. So today, I think, as we speak, I hope the Muslim Lawyers Association, whoever belongs, will still subscribe to the principles of the Constitution, principles of rule of law, principles that we have. Although we recognize the duality of Sharia and civil, you know. If you depart from that, then it becomes counterproductive. That's my view. And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
I think I was having this view that every month we engage in different communities, small, medium enterprise, senior members of the bar, corporate lawyers, and also business community, politicians. Probably in the next few networking sessions we would do is to engage with the community that has been long alienated.
Yes.
So that, because we talk about inclusivity, whether we agree or not on the same subject matter, yes, a separate matter, but we should engage.
Yes.
We should share views and don't make people feel like they don't belong here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the most ideal. That's why our young lawyers community, we try to be as inclusive as possible. We can't, because Malaysia generally, we are so diverse, but we can try. We can look at
I
where
think
we
you
can.
you can. Even with this issue of like the duality of the system, which is very unique in the world. You know, I think the duality, the Sharia system and the civil system, notwithstanding the differences, you still can work within that larger interest of justice and humanity and the higher principles that society must build on. So the legal profession should work towards that.
Yeah.
You know, it works towards that. I mean, there could well be some Islamic principles that you can even incorporate.
Yeah.
Mushawara, consensus.
Yeah.
So I think that certain groups they push forward certain ideologies, certain rights that they prioritize, whereas another group will prioritize different rights. For example, let's say the people that we know represent us in the bar, usually they push for the first generation of human rights. They say the freedom of liberty, freedom of speech, and so on. But what about the other generation of rights, which is like socio-economic rights and so on?
Yes.
They tend not to push that. They don't focus on that. But the other group tends to have an understanding about those rights. So if you can get these two groups to come together and to discuss with one another, then we may reach something that they can push forward together. But the problem is that it's easier for you to gain power if you divide. So if you present some fear or suspicion of another group, you say you have to vote us in because we are the ones that can stem the tide of this fear that you have coming in. So I think that because the bar has grown, we've presented an opportunity for a lot of people that have a political interest to go into the bar for this self-serving thing that they're doing. So there was a time also where there was this group of people that call themselves this group, vote for us. There are like 12 of us who vote for only this 12, don't vote for the rest. They try to maybe run away from that idea, but still behind the scenes, someone is still pulling the strings. So I think there's a lot of this idea of like an image of being the defender, the human rights advocate, but at the same time, it may be misaligned with what is actually happening in reality and what they actually feel.
No, good, Vince. I think your point about engagement is very important. I keep saying that. I mean, for example, if the Muslim group, I use the term, if the Muslim conservative Islamic group, so-called, within the bar, if you can get them talking to your group, I mean, you're obviously not Muslim, but you're probably very urban, very modern, very, and they are too in a lot of ways. I think if you can keep the engagement, it's fantastic. I think it's a good idea. Let them say whatever they want to say. Let them say, but nothing like arguing it, talking about it. Because at the end of the day, I still think that there has to be some commonality, regardless of where you're coming from. There has to be. And I think I don't know how was the membership of Malays in the bar, in the bar as a whole. Of the 20,000, how many percent are Malays?
I think 40%, 50% Chinese, 40% is Malay.
Yeah. So let's say 40%, okay? And of the 40%, let's say 30% are Islamists. Okay? In the sense that they probably have a different view about how the law should be. Regardless, you should engage with them. You should engage with them because, like I said, the whole idea of the bar having a very narrow, self-righteous kind of, this is the view, this is the right way to go forward, this is the way the secular system must work. I think that's a bit narrow and selfish. You must be willing to listen, What's so special about people languishing in a very lockup for months and years? What's so justice about it? This is what happened. If you have no money, you end up in jail. You have no bail. So, what justice is that? So, if you can get somebody to support you on the issue of bail, it doesn't matter where he's from, Islamist or not Islamist. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Also, there's an element of like superiority that they have. Like we're more better than you because we believe in the common belief or understanding of that everybody else believes in, like human rights. This is what we believe in. So in a way, we're more superior than you. So, but I think there should be, like, as you said, like more inclusion. more inclusive.
Yeah, look
discussion.
at America lah. Look at the Democrats. They say they know better. Look, the riot told them, get off. Yeah, I'm telling you, the Democrats. I used to be a supporter of the Democratic Party, because I thought they were going for the world. Because you believe in John F. Kennedy, charity for all, malice towards none, that kind of global message. But their actions actually is just the opposite. The last 20 years, they knock off all those people they don't like. So what I'm trying to say is that you can start with a certain correct principle, but then you may have deviated yourself.
Yeah.
And the same with the bar, or rather, the holders of this institution. So it's very good that you are able to engage. Maybe one day we should have one representative from the Muslim group here. What do you think?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think,
definitely.
If you can find someone, then we can continue the discussion.
Yeah, we have a
Because my
quite an
LA is
influx.
also from police, is Muslim. So
Oh, I think I know your LA.
yeah,
What's his name?
Ideal. We
Ah.
met him the other day.
Ah.
So
We also
If he's from
have
Perlis, he must be a past fellow.
we have
Not
quite a
necessarily.
number of influx of Malay Muslim lawyers joining our community now because we've been engaging them in Indonesian restaurant, which is more open for people to come to eat Betawi Indonesian cuisine in TTDI. I'm not sure if you've been there.
No.
We'll probably invite you for lunch one of these.
Yeah, I would like to.
Yeah.
I really like to. I feel that the division, the polarization in the bar on the ground of religion or race is really unnecessary, to be honest with you. I mean, if you bring down everything to the brass tack, we are talking about the same thing, justice, and I think there should be some effort to get them together. Yeah, I don't mind going makan there. Sure.
Yeah. It's quite a nice place. One of my
What is it called?
Betawi Indonesian cuisine.
Oh, that's expensive.
Yeah, but
You can pay for me.
Vince,
no worries on that on the bill.
Yeah, because you are. I don't have an income, so you better buy me lunch. Okay, I want to ask you another issue. Is this? There have been reports amongst lawyers, in the newspapers about lawyers, criminal breach of trust, mishandling of client's account. It was rampant during my time too, because during my time the rules were very relaxed. The clerk can sign off the checks those days. For example, and a client's account not properly audited, managed properly. Now. And lately, I've read reports about a few $1 million gone here and there. How serious is this problem of professional management of clients, a lawyer's account?
I think it's quite serious because I've heard a lot of instances like this from many people. Like
Yes.
Some people are in partnerships and then the other partner runs away with the money. It doesn't inform the other partner, and the partner is left in a position to handle the debts. And I think that the reason this happens is because it's very easy to set up your firm.
Yeah.
It's very easy to run the firm. But there needs to be a discussion on whether there needs to be some form of regulation on it. If there is no preference for the regulation to come from the government, then we need to have some form of independent body that the bar sets up to look into it. There needs to be some accountability there. So for example, like the application of the practicing cert and the renewal of it every year should come with certain conditions that would necessitate the difficulty of just like performing this kind of criminal breach of trust and running away. So there's a lot of when it happens, then we will try to pursue the justice for it. But I think there needs to be a focus on the before it happens.
Yeah.
Let's have efforts to avoid it from happening. So I think there's a lot of discussion on the protection of small firms, protection of firms that are smaller, and giving them flexibility and so on. But there also needs to be looked at the interests of the client, interest of the public at large. Also, there needs to be a balance there.
But the bar is quite dragging its feet on this issue. I mean, this is an old issue,
You look at systemic issues and problems, right? Why this type of things happen? This is 2024. Soon it's going to be 2030.
Yeah.
Corporate governance is a thing that has already existed for years,
Yeah.
right? But law firms are operating as sole proprietors of partnerships. Okay, only with the recent amendments, limited liability partnership will come in. But you look at countries like US, China, the big firms, things like that are lesser to happen in big firms because there are corporate governance to check and balance each partner.
Yes.
Here, Malaysia, some law firms around like Kedai Uncit are really no corporate governance. Partners
Yeah,
or
but what's
family
the Bar
members.
Council doing?
There is reasons why not to do something. It's obvious because status quo benefits certain people,
Oh.
right? And as long and the traditional people who are in power or have influence wants to keep that status quo so they can continue to reap the benefits of it. And that's why we are pushing for modernization. We're pushing for corporate governance within the bar. We even table motions to make workplace bullying a misconduct. ESG and BHR principles should apply in the legal profession. We cannot escape saying that legal profession is not a business. Therefore, we are not subject to corporate governance, not subject to environmental social governance, not subject to business and human rights. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Businesses have impact towards society and some adverse impacts, and we need to mitigate those adverse impacts because we talk about making the world a much better place, sustainability and whatnot. How you treat your own workers, these are issues. How you treat clients' money is an issue.
Of course.
How you treat whether are we digitalizing enough to prevent paper wastage, and all these are impacts towards environment as well. Anti-corruption, anti-money laundering, data protection, privacy. These are all corporate governance stuff, which the bar and the legal profession has been very slow in it because it's always about maintaining status quo for the benefit of certain individuals. And even like minimum pay for pupils, like for instance, a lot of objection actually come from the traditional lawyers who they themselves don't want corporate governance. Okay, I'm sorry I stopped you. You want to say something?
No.
Yeah.
Get on.
Yeah.
But if I could add on,
Yeah.
so there's the inherent difficulty on the structure of a law firm. So unlike a company where management is separate from the goods that they sell in order to get the profit. So if I change the management, we can still sell this product. We can still company can continue to live on. But for a law firm, the product is the lawyer itself. Is the manager himself. The manager and the performer, the ones that provides the service. So even if you have HR, it's quite it's just for show because the HR is still subject to the person that might cause the problem itself. So there's an inherent difficulty of the separation of management from the profit maker. So I think there needs to be some form of solution there. Maybe like HR needs to be outsourced or somebody that needs to have an eye on these firms. So I think until we can find a solution there, then this problem will continue to exist.
I think one possibility, if I may suggest, is that if your idea, your proposal for change to curb this malpractice and the wrongdoing, if it's not being taken up by the bar management, then you should try the government. You may have to do that. I don't think the government is very pro lawyers either, but now maybe they are. I think the first time I heard the Prime Minister, the sitting Prime Minister, attended the meeting, the dinner of the Bar Council. Never happened during my time. So obviously the Bar Council has tilted. So if you have a good relationship with the Prime Minister, you should bring a memorandum to him because not every day, but very so often you see this news about some people get swindled by lawyers, or malpractice, action not taken, or charging too much fees, and that kind of all sorts of things. That seems to suggest that there's nobody the public can turn to. The public has no option but to complain where?
This is something we can look into. And I've always support the idea that businesses should work together with the government to develop a country's economy. But tradition, just like I told you why the system wants to protect the status quo, they're saying that
Interference.
don't interfere with the affairs of the bar. We are bar, we're special, we're lawyers. No, don't come in.
No,
I don't subscribe to that. Business we have to work together.
That's just like the Jews saying, "Hey, don't criticize us. That is anti-Semitism." That's their excuse. The bar will say all those things, but you have to go to the government and you say that you cannot condone wrongdoing. You cannot. What happened in Singapore? You should take heed.
Yeah.
You see, Singapore realized early days. Lee Kuan Yew realized that you cannot make Singapore an international business center unless you have very good professional service providers.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That is why the changes in the law society, the changes in the way that lawyers govern themselves, the rules, how foreign lawyers were brought in,
Yeah, support
and
that.
so on and so forth. Lee Kuan Yew was relentless, and the product is what we have today.
Mm.
You know,
I just came back from Singapore in September. I was very impressed by the atmosphere. I went there for conference. There are China law firms coming up to set up
Yes.
there, just like here, but they're more open because arbitration is like the booming thing all over the
Yes.
world. And Singapore, the unique part is I've come across lawyers from China who came to Singapore to do their A levels,
Yes.
go into NUS, National University of Singapore, study, graduate there with the qualification, practice in Singapore. It's like an international hub where people from all over around the world come there to set up practice to cater to the Southeast Asian market, which makes things vibrant. Sometimes I wish, if I could practice there across border or whatsoever. There's so much opportunities we can do for the country with cross-border work. You
Yes.
see, yeah.
No. You have to open up the eyes
Yeah.
of these lawyers.
Mm.
You know, I speak with some experience. You know, I had problem with the bar council from the early days, where I describe myself as Zaid Ibrahim, advocate and solicitor.
Mm.
And I was hauled up.
Mm.
In those days, you cannot describe yourself as a lawyer.
Mm.
It's like promoting yourself.
Mm.
So what do I tell them? So what do I say? You know, those days, you cannot even say you're an advocate and solicitor. You cannot promote in a business card. That's how regressive we were, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure, I hope, for the sake of all the lawyers, your young lawyers movement, is it called?
Yeah.
Mm.
You make it stronger, make it more vibrant, have more luncheon, talk, open up for people to discuss, energize the members. You see, the one thing that is in your favor is you got youth, you got energy, you got ideas, and you're not afraid to. Not yet, I suppose. You are not wealthy enough to protect your vested interests. Once you are very wealthy, you become like them. But before you become like them, Vince, you try and change for the better. I hope you will take this advice. You know,
Yeah,
so that
definitely. We've of course, we're open to discussions. If anybody wants to talk to us from the bar, we're willing to discuss with them. But what we often realize is that there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy. They'll say set an appointment, then when we set the appointment, they don't revert, or they will try to use certain methods to present hurdles for us to do so. But the fact remains that we're open to discussion, we're open to talk to them about it, and we hope that we can present these ideas to people that are willing to listen. We know, of course, there are good people in the bar that are doing good work, and we, of course, will support them. But I think it's also important for people to hold the bar accountable externally. So those internally will conduct their duty, and those externally also have a role to make sure that the bar remains as independent as it should be as well.
Okay. We go to end around here. I just want you to summarize what your hopes and what you think we can be done, not just for the lawyers, but for this country. I mean, what are the issues you think that are central to get our country going, aside from the profession, other things that is connected to it? How do you see yourself, your role?
Because I studied in the UK, studied law there. When I came back to Malaysia and I got involved in the criminal justice system as a lawyer, I realized there were a lot of things in our system that can be improved. There are many people that are suffering in the criminal justice system, and these people are often from the less privileged background. Not many others will know because they are from a background where people around them might not face these things.
Yes.
But there's real suffering that exists in the criminal justice system, and I can only hope and wish that people in the positions of power will be willing to acknowledge these problems and not just listen to those around them. They have to go to the ground. They have to see what is happening and listen to the people on the ground. And I wish for politics that is less partisan. But I wish for more awareness from the public to know that politics starts with ourselves, and we have to be political in order for change to happen. It's not just about the ballot. It goes beyond that. And there's power in an individual. Just because of one action that I decided to do, I'm friends with Vince here today. I'm at the table with Dato' Zaid Ibrahim. I'm talking about this issue. So just do the first thing you can that you believe in to make a change for the country.
Okay. Vince?
I have a lot of hope for the next generation, Gen Zs. They impress me.
What do you call it?
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Generation Z. Z.
Not Zaid.
Okay. They have so much hope, so much talent, potential in them, and the real concern is our generation and the previous generation might have failed them. We failed to lay down proper institutions and a place for them to realize their potential, and that's very sad. And I hope to address that many of them, when they graduate, the first thing that you'll realize is they'll get a low pay, right? When their talent is beyond that, and they could have gone to other countries and get better pay, better jobs, and become much better versions of themselves. And if we really want to make this country a better country, I think we have to address the issues to tell the younger generation, the Gen Zs, that there's still hope here, and we are trying our best to make this world a much better place, the country a much better place, so that when the time comes for them to come of age, they can deliver what it matters the most, that is to make the country better. Why I'm still working with Shai on this Young Lawyers Movement project is he's younger than me. I want to be, as a senior, want to help these young people to do better and finish or do things that my generation could not have done. And that's what I want to see. The Gen Zs doing things that we were not able to do, and we lay down the foundations to help them to achieve that. That's that.
Thank you. Very good. Now, so, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our chit-chat for today, for our conversation for today. But I hope I will be able to invite these very articulate and very positive thinking young lawyers back to the studio and talk about other things. Hopefully, we can talk about things that can move the reform agenda, the truly reformist agenda. Not the political reform agenda, the real reform agenda. And I hope, like you, I become from the older generation. I don't know whether we call it generation what? What do you call my generation?
Gen X or boomers?
Or boomer. Maybe boomers. Second World War. Yeah, maybe boomers. So we also want to leave the country better for our grandchildren. And this collective effort, I'm sure, will be good, will be useful. So thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zai. Thank you, Chair.
Next time I'll give you a present, but now I don't have a present.
Zai, next
Can
time.
we take a picture?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.